sorry. Is it think peace Twitter and shea butter Twitter, or are you just being dismissive and deflecting from someone's valid critique? Let's get into it. Let's really talk about it. I've seen the discourse go from Beyonce bowl to suckling the teat of your oppressor, monoracial versus biracial, close friends expose. Bitch, we not getting into none of that. What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of Look at the Material podcast. I'm your host, BK, and child, today we're going to be talking about this whole conversation surrounding Beyonce that started over on TikTok after the Beyonce Bowl that was streamed on Netflix. It was her halftime show she did for the Texans versus the Ravens game. We have so much to get into, and this conversation has divulged into TikTok creator drama, so I'm not going to touch on that. I may give a slight brief summary, but I don't know them folks. And I'm here as someone with a degree in political science, concentrating in race and politics, dual degree in African and African American studies from Louisiana State University. I'm a Black Southerner, and I've been hearing a lot of people throw in the whole, like, if you're not Southern, you can't have this conversation thing. So, like, I'm just here from that perspective. It's early. I have the bonnet on. It's giving Wicked a little bit, little Glenda, little Elphaba. And baby, we finna roll up. Because I haven't had my wake and bake yet. But I wanted to get this out of the way because I do have a video coming out about Doechii, all things Alligator Bites Never Heal, her Grammy campaign, like the backlash she's been facing that I feel like is very forced. So I just wanted to take a short detour to talk about this because it's trending, it's popular right now. Let's look at the material. So I saw this video on TikTok, and I'll make sure to include it here, of this creator named Hannah, whatever. And after the Beyonce Bowl, she was saying that, like, Beyonce is the greatest American propagandist. And of course, if you talk about anything related to Beyonce, good luck, which is why this is a one and done type of video. And before I show you guys the TikTok that sparked all of this madness, I want to do a short disclaimer. I love Beyonce. I've loved her for my entire life. My earliest memory of Beyonce was my mom playing the B-Day CD in her car, like on the way to school. And so I really appreciate her. I appreciate her craft. In my last video, I mentioned that the reason that one of the many reasons I love Kendrick is because he actually puts so much effort into his craft and takes it seriously and doesn't want to offer the fans slop. And that is something that you can say about Beyonce too. She's flawless. She's meticulous. She has impacted her genre. She is peerless. The accolades and the superlatives can go on and on and on and on. And that kind of brings me to the second part of my disclaimer. Beyonce is incredibly beloved, and so it is really hard to critique her without bad faith actors coming into play, without stan cult-like adoration coming into play. We have a lot of admiration for her as a celebrity, as a Black woman, like the things that she's done in her space, the way that she's morphed and bended the genre. And all while being Black and from the South and having her Black ass kids with her Black ass husband, you know? And it's just hard to critique her. And I think that's a problem. Because a lot of the videos I saw were like, now I don't think Beyonce is above critique, but, and then go on this long rant basically saying how all the critiques are invalid and how, like, the people who are speaking on her are disqualified in some way, and it really just kind of like invalidates the original point about how she's not above critique. I think that, like, the open critique of Beyonce is a fairly recent phenomenon, like pre-2020, 2021, maybe. You were getting doxxed and kicked off of the internet if you were coming for Beyonce in any way, whether it was meaningful critique or you just being a hater. Like, it just wasn't happening. So for us to even be able to get to this point, even though it's super messy and the conversation has now divulged into TikTok creator drama, we're starting somewhere. The disclaimer for me is that I love Beyonce. I'm not a Beyonce hater. I'm someone that feels like all art is political, whether the artist intends for it to be or not, and that we experience art in context, like not in a vacuum. So, like, the American flag is gonna mean something in context of like 2024, 2025, and that Beyonce is incredibly beloved. And so it's really hard to critique her without people feeling personally invested or personally afflicted. There's a lot of people with parasocial relationships with celebrities, but particularly Beyonce, because like she is mother. She is so talented, like you just can't deny it. But I'm just gonna hold your hand when I say this. Like, we're gonna get into some things that may make you feel uncomfortable in terms of Beyonce, and you are allowed to disagree. I think a big thing I saw and that I'm seeing now with the TikTok drama is that we easily want to discard people who have different opinions than us. We want to be condescending. We want to call them stupid. And I saw someone saying that leftists have this really, really bad, which is true, but also like non-leftists have this really bad. We live in a punitive carceral society where we want to shame and punish and guilt trip people. So this isn't exclusive to leftists. I would say that Beyonce supporters that aren't leftists have that type of attitude that can come off as condescending as well. So I don't think we need to play the blame game. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way. Feel free to agree, to disagree, whatever the case may be, you're free to do that, but let's get into it. So first, I'm gonna insert the clip that Han posted, and we're just gonna go from there, girl.
Beyonce is this country's best propagandist right now. Like, no one is doing it like her. And I say this as someone who really enjoys her music and really enjoyed her performance today. And yet at the same time, a football halftime show on Christmas Day infused with that much like Americana, yeah, that is propaganda, my friends. That is propaganda, and she does it so well. She does it so well, having the young black country talent, the up-and-comers there with her, having Blue there with her, absolutely killing it, by the way, having the young musicians, I don't know if everybody caught that, like, just so much black culture infused into that Americana culture. And I wanted to fight loving it, I really did, but she got me. I have like a spiritual experience because she's that good. She is that good at what she does, and it's kind of spooky. It's kind of spooky because in these times, I mean, Jesus Christ, but also I think I'm gonna need those motherfucking tickets.
So before I get into the meat and taters of Han's video, I just wanted to kind of go into how I felt about the cover art for Cowboy Carter, because this conversation was sparked initially when the cover art for the album dropped. I literally opened my phone and said,
oh my God, I thought this was a classy party.
No, like, the imagery and the composition of the imagery was really jarring for me. Like, the way she was positioned on this horse, and it was just giving me Paul Revere. Like, nothing in that screamed, oh, this is country, this ain't Texas, okay. I mean, technically, yeah, right? There's a flag, there's a horse, there's a boot, spurs, a hat, whatever. You can gather that from that. But someone who's done plenty, like, DBQs in, like, AP US history and would be asked to, like, look at this image and describe what the fuck, it's given Paul Revere, it's given George Washington, it's given Manifest Destiny. To me! And let's just start there. Like, we have to be real about what type of feelings and emotions the flag engenders in certain people. Black folks are not monolithic, so the flag impacts them differently. But you have to realize that, like, why some black people would be like, why the flag? What the fuck? And there's this concept or this idea or this theory of reclamation and saying, my ancestors built this country against their will, and their blood and their sweat and their tears and everything else is in the soil of this country. And so I have the right to claim the flag and claim my Americanness. I am not any less American than my white counterpart. And I feel like that is kind of what Cowboy Carter was saying. I think people saying that, like, black Southerners feel patriotic, or you don't understand black Southern patriotism, or we fly the flag during the rodeo and whatever, it's almost like, have you ever cried during the national anthem? But, like, if you think about what the song is about and where the country was at the time the song was created. Like, we were still like enslaved, but the national anthem makes you feel emotional because of how you've been socialized in American society and how we're taught like America is the best and greatest and brightest country, and maybe the person singing the song is just singing it so well. I would say that's kind of an example of propaganda, right? Like, I don't think in that moment you are saying, yes, I agree with American imperialism and colonialism and the empire of America and all the blood that is shed underneath the flag. But because you were socialized in America to be American, to take pride, to do the Pledge of Allegiance, things like the national anthem may make you cry. That's kind of similar to like what I feel like is going on with people who feel emotionally connected to Cowboy Carter. That's valid. Your emotions are valid, but you also have to understand why people would critique that. Because there's nothing about Americanness, there's nothing about this like genocidal white supremacist colonial state that we should want to reclaim or that we should be proud of. And that's something that we have to contend with, I think. And we aren't just talking about the cover art. We're talking about the entire aesthetic of Cowboy Carter. It was like the Cowboy Carter merch. It was like the Chaps outfit with like the red, white, and blue. It was given Americana specifically. So I feel like the most popular response that I've seen to someone critiquing the use of the American flag from Beyonce, from Cowboy Carter, Beyonce Bowl, all that is, did you even listen to the album? She critiques America in the album. And first I want to start off by saying that like, don't assume everyone heard the album. Don't assume that like the aesthetics of the album didn't turn people off. Like, y'all have to stop flattening Black people, and you have to stop flattening Black Southerners. Like, me being from Louisiana and my homegirl being from Texas, we were not at all gagged by the cover or the Americana aesthetic at all. Like, not everyone had the same reaction to it. People are engaging with different elements of her art and the themes that surround Cowboy Carter. So like, just don't assume that people heard the album. I would say, me personally, I listened once and I didn't go back to it, like, not because of anything crazy, but just only a couple songs caught my attention. I liked a lot of the songs that went viral and stuff like that. But, you know, at this stage in my life, I'm more into hip hop in general. And I also think that, like, sure, there were critiques like there's more blood in that red, or there's more red in that red, white, and blue, or whatever it was, like little moments where she took jabs, I guess, at America. She did feature known culture vultures like Miley Cyrus and Post Malone, who are like actually infamous for being culture vultures. And then there's Dolly, who had the Dixie Stampede at Dollywood, which was like a Confederate reenactment that she didn't change until 2018. Multiple things can be true at the same time. Yes, maybe she critiqued the US, but then also you feature these like white people who have very problematic relationships with Black people as well on the album. And yes, like Tanner Adele, Willie, who's from Shreveport, where I'm from, Shabuzi and others were on the album too. But like, do you see how there's so much juxtaposition going on with this album? Like, yes, there's critiques, and then you have these white people featured that have these complicated relationships with Black people. Yes, you're featuring these Black country artists, but you have like American flags all over this whole era and this whole album. So like, there's a lot of things that we're having to juggle right now, and I think we need to be honest about that as well. Another thing I want to invite you to consider is the fact that like, we've seen a rise in nationalism in this country. And let's just get a clean definition of nationalism. So nationalism is the identification with one's own nation and support for its interests, especially to the exclusion or the detriment of the interests of other nations. So a lot of people were saying, well, she's from America, she's an American, like, why can't she be proud to be an American? And why can't she fly the flag? Like, it's the flag of her home country. And it's like, because America is America. America is the face of imperialism, of domination, of exploitation, of violence. And so you should not be proud to be an American. And if we zoom out a bit and we think about Black people in the diaspora, Black people around the world, they have actually been urging Americans to look in the mirror, like take a look at our Americanness and come to grips with the fact that a lot of our comforts and a lot of our freedoms come at the expense of other people's suffering, other nations suffering. That's coming alongside the presidential election, the Olympic year. The Olympics engenders nationalism as well, because you're literally rooting for Team USA. People get a little bit more patriotic around election time. They get at least a little bit more involved in politics or paying attention to politics around that time. And so like considering the context, again, we're going to keep talking about the context of our society. Why would a very like meticulously minded, strategic individual, institution, team think that it would be a good idea to like lead with the American flag in terms of like branding and theme during a time where Trumpism is here, MAGAism is here, and like all these other things are here? Don't get it. Speaking on the timing too, Cowboy Carter dropped in March of 2024. October the 7th happened October 2023. So from October 2023 to like when Cowboy Carter dropped, people are watching horrible images on their screen. This is like our Vietnam. And this is all happening under the guise of like American imperialism, American domination. And so when Cowboy Carter drops and we all see the cover art, there was definitely different reactions to it. But I know the pushback that I saw to it was like, oh my God, like as we're watching the slaughter of babies that are dripped in blood and that blood is dripping off the American fucking flag, like, yo, why would you use this imagery? Like, I feel like it was really jarring for people. And so I just thought it was a really interesting choice, considering there were some other flag choices that she could have gone with, but we're gonna get to that in a minute. And actually, speaking of the genocide in Gaza, there actually was a campaign called Beehive for Palestine that were protesting the screening of the Renaissance film in Israel. And I don't know if y'all remember this like infamous video of these Israelis that were waving the Israeli flag and singing "You Won't Break My Soul." I feel like just the whole era around Cowboy Carter, the timing of it in terms of election year, Olympic year, Trump, and everything that comes with that, and also the genocide in Gaza, it was just like, this is just not the time or moment that you should be embracing Americanism or flying the flag in this way. Period, point blank. It just turned a lot of people off, and I totally get that. Another thing that Beyonce is being critiqued for in the context of like the Beyonce Bowl specifically is this collaboration with the NFL. And I mean, if you remember Colin Kaepernick kneeling and like him being blackballed from the league and just the overall like racism that we know is like inherent to the NFL. Also, like if you notice during the Super Bowl, you'll see like fighter jets flying over, and you know, you do the national anthem and the flag comes out and you support the troops, salute the troops, or whatever the case may be. The NFL has a very deep embedded partnership with the US military. And so like quite literally collaborating with the NFL is like collaborating with like the State Department or like the US military. It sounds strange, but like that just kind of is what's going on. And so like the idea of Americana being displayed for the NFL on Netflix in the timing that we're in, I can see why somebody would critique that. And I think that we just get uncomfortable critiquing certain folks. Like, look, I'm a fan of Kendrick Lamar, right? And so considering a lot of the Hotepi shit he said over the years, I know that it is like really difficult to hear people critiquing your favorite, because you know how much work they put into what they do and all this stuff. But it's just kind of like, you have to take a step back. Like I saw people saying like, I'm not gonna put American imperialism at the feet of this black woman, and like, yes, she's a billionaire, and I know we're not supposed to like billionaires, but like she's a black billionaire, and like go talk about Elon Musk. I understand the knee-jerk reaction to do that, but like Beyonce doesn't need your protecting. She doesn't even know you exist. She knows that whenever she puts her art out there, it is to be consumed, critiqued, liked, hated, whatever. So like, calm down. But I think that this proclivity to be like, no, not my billionaire, or no, not my fave celebrity, whenever they do something that is warranting critique, I think we need to kind of investigate that a little bit. And y'all, sorry if y'all hearing noises in the back. That's Ghost, my dog. He be doing a lot. Now, the next perspective I hear is, quote, if you're not from the South, you don't get it and don't speak about it, which I think is kind of unfair in general, but I get where the sentiment is coming from, like that people may not have the necessary cultural competency to understand why Beyonce would be flying a flag. Like, you don't get it, you're not in rodeo culture, you don't get it, you're not from the South. as a black Southerner that's literally studied race at Louisiana State University, like I think I can speak about it. Let me just get some things out that I have on my notes here. So black Americans have two different flags. We have the African American flag, which are the colors of the Pan-African flag, and then we have the Juneteenth flag, which is red, white, and blue. The history behind both of these flags, I feel like, is emblematic to the conversation that we're having, right? Our ancestors felt that the USA flag, the American flag, don't do it for us. It doesn't represent us, and it's difficult to have pride in something like that. Understanding that we were genocided, mass raped, mass slaughtered under the guise of this flag, and so how could we ever find pride and solace and a sense of belonging in this flag? So they created the African American flag and the Juneteenth flag. The Juneteenth flag is also specific to Texas, considering that Juneteenth, the holiday, is specific to Galveston. But if you wanted to go with the red, white, and blue theme, the Texas flag is also there as well. So again, stylistically, you could keep the same elements of the red, white, and blue if you want, and you can go with the Texas flag, or you can go with the Juneteenth flag if you really want to make it emblematic of I'm black and I'm American, and this is am I American enough? Yes, I am. Like, my ancestors were here and they built this, and we already have symbols that are flags that represent that. And if you didn't want the Pan-African colorway with the stars and stripes, you could have the American flag colorway with our Juneteenth emblem. And that, I feel like, you don't want to do Monday, what do they call it, Monday morning quarterbacking or whatever, and just like, I'm not Beyonce, I'm not a creative stylist or director or anything like that, so I don't want to like nitpick her art. But I just feel like all of the defenders of Cowboy Carter are saying that this is for like black Southern America, and this is a reclamation of America and a critique of America at the same time, and like holding that intersection. But they're not calling to the fact that wouldn't it have been more educational and symbolic and representative to use a flag like the Juneteenth flag? Something that like even a lot of black Americans are not even aware it even exists. Like, I literally saw the African American flag displayed in Kendrick's Squabble Up video, and people were like, oh my god, it's Ebony Prince and da 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 da, and it's like, oh my god, like our people don't even know what the African American flag. But I also think that a lot of these hip-hop pages don't be black folks, so that explains a lot. But yeah, like there are other flags out there, there are other symbols that are specific to black Americans that could have been used, and that's just what I have to say. And again, like there are so many different ways that black Southern Americans show pride in their heritage and culture, and we're not monolithic. Yeah, maybe we growing up wore that little Old Navy American flag gear for the 4th of July barbecue or whatever the case may be. That's just a consequence of living in America. That wasn't like, we're American, I'm so proud, da da da. And so that's my context as a black Southerner with the American flag. It could be different than somebody that was grown up and raised on a ranch or in rodeo culture or whatever the case may be. But even within the context of the rodeo, there are many flags that are used outside of the American flag. So like people just acting like you can't have a rodeo without the USA flag, that's just disingenuous and inaccurate. So I don't want to erase the people that fly it and use it and whatever, like black people are not monolithic, but it's just like in my particular context, like I like hearing, it was so funny hearing people say like, you don't understand how like black Southerners are patriotic, and it's just like, huh? And I think something to note is that it is normal to see flags, like I said, as a result of being socialized in America. Like, I don't know if we ever had an American flag in our front lawn or our front door or whatever, but like I'm sure that I've seen them in the past, or like my grandma put up flags for Flag Day or some shit like that, right? Like I don't remember that as like a staple growing up, but let's just say it did happen. Let's dig a little deeper. Having patriotism in America is not good, in my opinion. Like, in my view, what are we being patriotic about? Because America didn't just like exist. It was created on the backs of like genociding and displacing indigenous Americans that were here, indigenous folks that were here, and then kidnapping, stealing, selling, buying and selling Africans from the continent, bringing them here to build America. Like, at its root, at its core, it is exploitative, it is genocidal, it is white supremacist. So like, you could say, hey, I'm a black person and I'm patriotic and I fly the flag and I didn't see anything wrong with Cowboy Carter, but then I would invite you to investigate that a bit. And this is a moment to say, hey, black people, yes, we were brought here, we were stolen, we were brought here. Yes, our ancestors contributed to pretty much every meaningful invention and every meaningful thing in this country. But I don't think that's inherent to our Americanness as it is more so our Africanness or our blackness. Maybe those things are inseparable. Maybe you say, I can't take away my Americanness, I can't take away my blackness, whatever. I just think that when it comes down to it, we can let the flag go. Like, we don't have to hang on to it in such a way. And I think that even like when we talk about the imagination of the Black American, can we dream bigger? Can we dream better? Can we think beyond the symbols that have been given to us, like the flag? You know what I'm saying? Can we have a futuristic view of like what being Black and American is? I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. In closing, I just want to say, I think we should all consume art more critically. We're in a time where literacy is at an all-time low and media literacy is in the gutter. So people will be looking at propaganda and not knowing it's propaganda, or looking at misinformation or disinformation and not knowing it's like they just don't even know how to think deeper than what is on the surface of what's being shown. And so I think we should all do ourselves a favor and just be a bit more, I don't want to say even suspicious or skeptical, but just a bit more aware and critical of the art that we are consuming, particularly from our faves. You have to be honest about your bias. Like, for example, I have a bias about Kendrick Lamar, right? But I have to call him out whenever it's necessary. When he's on that Hotepi shit, like on 30 for 30, he talking about, I want a conservative regular girl that still knows how to beat a bitch ass. I was like, I know what you are. So like modest, but also ratchet, like, boy, get the fuck out of here. There are things that I have to call him to the carpet about. And when I see people tug on his little wig, I'll be like, ah! And then I'll be like, you don't know this nigga. It's just music. He will be okay. And this is probably facts. You know what I'm saying? It's fine to push back and disagree, especially if you feel like you have a more intimate knowledge of the artist's POV because you listen to all their stuff, you consume all their content, whatever. But seeing people be like, not my billionaire, not my black woman billionaire, pop star, mega star, ultra celebrity, it's just kind of like, put the gun down. And speaking on putting the gun down, I feel that this discourse, I don't just feel that, I've seen the discourse go from Beyonce bowl to suckling the teat of your oppressor, monoracial versus biracial, close friends expose. Bitch, we not getting into none of that. To TikTok finna be gone in about 2 fucking weeks. Let's wrap that on up, okay? I don't know how we got there. But I do think that we should be kinder to each other, even if you don't like the individual, even if you don't disagree with the individual. We are slipping into fascism real bad. And what happens during that time is you become suspicious of your neighbor. You start to become angry at people who don't even have the same political power as the people that are actually in charge of your suffering. And, you know, it's going to get real scary out here. And we have to learn how to coexist with people we disagree with and become curious about why they think the way they think. And honestly, when it comes to this art shit, a lot of it is subjective, but something that we have to consider is that the flag is never non-political. If you don't take anything from this video, the American flag is never non-political. And I think we get stuck in our American bubble that we don't understand that, like, people all around the globe see that flag and see terror because that's what it represents, particularly now as we are like supporting, aiding, abetting, funding a genocide. Like currently, both sides were doing. Biden, Genocide Joe, that's what we call him, right? And Trump's about to amp it up. So as we moved into more conservative territory, nationalist territory, America first territory, we need to be skeptical about America in general, propaganda, people who are comfortable, you know, being patriotic, quite frankly. And just be a little bit more curious about that, a little bit more critical about that. And to that point, I think we just have to come to terms with the fact that symbols mean things and that art is political even if the artist didn't intend for it to be. Because we don't exist in a vacuum. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Like, respectfully, she ate with that. Her mama ate with that. Like, you didn't. Like, you exist in the context of all the things that came before you. And we have to consider that. I've seen like a lot of disingenuous takes of just like, but it's Beyonce. And it's like, yeah. And I think that's the point. I think to circle it all the way back, that's why the original poster was like, this is the greatest piece of propaganda I've ever seen in my life. Because Beyonce is the most beautiful woman I've seen in my life. She's the most talented woman I've seen in my life. And she's waving this flag in my face and I'm not mad at it. I'm not viscerally turned off by it. She's at the NFL and I'm, fuck Cap. I'm not even thinking about Kaepernick. I'm not even thinking about kneeling. What Jay-Z said? The time for kneeling is over. What did he say? What did Sean Carter say? The time for kneeling is done. Like, he shook hands with Roger Goodell and was like, yeah, fuck all that kneeling shit. Fuck all that BLM shit. We here to make money. We here to put niggas on this stage. So I think that when you zoom the fuck out and realize that, like, we all witnessed the Kaepernick era, and then Jay-Z completely glamorized and remixed and like did a full makeover on our perception, black people's perception of the NFL. We don't even bat an eye anymore. And not to say that it's solely Jay-Z's fault, but like, you know, music, entertainment, that's a big part that drives our culture. And so like, yeah, like quite literally, like her being there giving you Americana core. Yes, black America, black country America, black Southern America. Yes, that's there too. But it's America at the end of the day. You can see why someone would come to the conclusion that like, oh, well, this is great propaganda. The person, Hannah, she loved the performance. She said she was going to get tickets to the tour. Like, she just was like, she wasn't even saying like boycott Beyonce, fuck Beyonce. Like, she was like, that was the most beautiful performance I've ever seen. And also, these things are here for us to interrogate. And that's something that we have to, niggas, we can chew gum and walk at the same time. So it's fuck Elon, but it's also fuck Jay-Z, bitch. We can hold multitudes at the same time. And I would argue that it is, that our survival is based on us walking and chewing gum at the same time, holding differences at the same time, because we're gonna have to be in community with people who are different from us to survive the next 4 years, to survive the rest of our lives. Because we see the fires going on in LA, praying for everybody in LA. That is some scary ass shit. But we see the impacts of climate change and things like that. So we're gonna have to exist with people and organize with people and be shoulder to shoulder with people that don't think the way we do. We already are. We already are in situations like that. So like, put the fucking pitchforks down, first and foremost. I don't know what the TikTok shit going on. Keep that shit off my fucking feed. And realize that the flag is always political. And you just have to come to terms with that. Like, Beyonce, in terms of Beyonce, she is a person, but she is a brand and an institution and a conglomerate corporation. And that this is not to dehumanize her. It is to say, in the context of a capitalistic society, like, that's how she moves. Like, people, like the earth shattered when she even spoke to us on Instagram Reels. Because we don't even think of her as someone that speaks outside of the context of the music, of the product that's being sold, right? Like, we're like, oh my God, she's talking. Those are my like 2-3 cents. That's more like 4 cents on this topic. Let me know what you think about this discussion. Have you even heard about this discourse in the comments below? What did you think of my critique? What did you think of my video? And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye.